up when I'm not.
And we are officially live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Wes.
I'm Lori.
And today we're going to be talking about entering contributions. This is going to be exciting. we have a lot to cover.
We do have a lot to cover. It's going to be a good webinar, lots of information.
Now, before we get going, Lori, tell them about the Facebook group.
Okay, so Facebook, if you go to Facebook, you go to the ChurchTrac page, join our user group, because there you're going to be able to interact with people who actually utilize and work in the software on a regular basis. This is a forum for discussion of users, not a support forum. We keep that in mind.
Yes. And we have an awesome community there. It's a place where, I mean, you can get so much help from people all
Oh
over
my
the world.
goodness. Answers to questions, tips of how to do things, ministry knowledge, all kinds of good stuff, Wes.
Yes. Now, we will be having our Q&A mode in a little bit. I'm going to enable that, but I just still have the chat open just to see everybody and say hey. So many great people there coming on in. Now, for those of you who are watching this at a later time, not live, just know that you can get help by simply just clicking that green help button. Lori, show them the button.
So this is my favorite spot of the software, because when you click the green help, you can have access to our user guide, you can have access to support tickets, and to scheduling phone calls. So lots of tools and lots of information under that green help.
Yes. Well, in this webinar, we're going to first start with an overview of the giving screen real fast. We're not going to spend much time there, just a quick overview. Then we're going to be talking about what we need to do before we enter contributions in ChurchTrac. Then we're going to cover all the ways you can enter contributions. And
Lots of ways.
There's a bunch of different ways. Then we'll briefly touch on online giving. And then we're going to wind things up with generating contribution statements, because I know many of you are probably in the process of getting ready to do all that. And so we'll cover that too. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. Lori, show us the giving screen and give us an overview.
Okay, so in the giving screen, There are lots of options in here. There's adding a date. If you have lots of dates in place and you think, oh my goodness, I can't find something, there's a show all dates option that allows you to scroll back through past dates, okay? There is the reports. I love reports. The very first report is a contribution statement. You have a giving history report, giving totals by date, category summary, category overview, great selections in here. Category detail, and contribution mailing labels. This will print mailing labels for only people who have a contribution statement.
Oh, okay. That makes it handy whenever I go to mail all those out.
And a month-to-month category analysis. This is a really cool report when you want to see how your giving is trending. Okay? You have a pledges option. You have categories. We're going to talk about this in great detail.
Yes, we are.
And online giving, which we are also going to talk about in great detail.
All right, perfect. So that's kind of just a quick overview of the giving screen. If you want to learn more about all that, definitely check out some of our other videos or our online user guide where you can learn more about each specific feature, because today we're going to be talking more so about entering contributions. And so before we talk about entering them, we need to talk about the things we do before we enter our contributions.
So entering contributions is not as easy as just going to the date and plugging in a bunch of numbers. There are some things that you have to put in place, Wes.
Okay.
You want your software to work for you, okay? You don't want to work for the software, okay? You're already paying for it, so why not utilize it? So as an administrator, and if you're not an administrator, have your administrator set these things up for you. You want to go to the settings menu, under admin settings here, and then you're going to go to screen preferences. This is important because there are 3 screens in screen preferences. There's people, events, and giving. Today we're specifically talking about the giving screen. If you planned to utilize online giving, you want to set this feature up with your default category and your online giving fee category. This is a fee category, okay? In this case, I don't have a fee category. Shame on me. But this needs to be a fee category, not an income category, Wes.
Okay.
Okay? There are 5 selections in here that you need to be aware of. The show the envelope member number. If you guys are utilizing member envelopes, okay, and they have a number assigned to a family, you want to be able to see this field in the people screen to be able to assign that for easy entry in the giving screen.
Yeah, makes it a lot faster.
You don't want to see expense categories in your giving screen. We are not tracking expenses in giving. We are tracking income. So hide those categories. Show the giving type selection box. You think, geez, I don't really need that. You really do. A lot of churches want to know how much came in cash.
Yes.
How much was given via check. And if you're using online giving, you're going to have credit card fees.
Yes, so you want to be able to keep track of all that.
You want to know how that came in, okay? Reset and remove additional amounts, categories, deductibles. This is up to you and how you are entering contributions. You can play with that setting and show inactive names. This is actually important because if you have somebody who comes to the church, you have those that come just occasionally, so they may be inactive. Okay, this is not archived. This is just inactive, so they're still in the people screen. If you go to search that name in the giving screen and they're inactive, you want them to pop up so that you don't enter a duplicate. We don't want duplicates, Wes.
No, that makes it really messy trying to go through all that.
It certainly does. Okay. The next thing that you're going to do before you start entering contributions is go back to the giving screen, go to your category selection.
Okay.
Why is this important?
Because you need to have your categories set up before you actually start putting your giving to them.
Right. If I don't have my giving categories in place, I can't really assign money to them.
Yes.
If you need to designate money, which every church does it this way, okay? It doesn't matter you say, oh, no, everything goes into tithes and offerings or everything goes into general offerings. No, it really doesn't. Because if a contributor wants to give to a memorial or they want to give to the building program or they want to give to the youth or the children's ministry or blah, 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 you have to have those categories available for selection, okay? So you want them in your category window, okay? You will note that all these are active and income. Sometimes you are going to have inactive categories, such as our 2020 building campaign. If it's an inactive category, you don't want it on, but you can't delete it because there are past contributions associated with it, okay? If you want a category to show for online giving, you need to turn this on. Use for online
Yes.
giving, yes. If it says no, it's not showing up.
Now, how many categories would you recommend to the average church to show for online giving? Because I know if you show every category, then it can be kind of crazy, couldn't it?
It gets a little wonky. Most of the time for online giving, you're going to have people give to the general offerings or tithes and offerings, however you call it, to your missions.
A love offering, perhaps.
Yeah. Missions is going to be sometimes specific to the time of year.
Okay.
Okay? So you can turn on and off those categories by making them inactive. If it's not the time of year for them, then we don't want them to show up.
So like Christmas is a good example of
For
that, where
Lottie
we
Moon.
have Lottie Moon. There's the shoebox one that I do.
The shoeboxes for kids or something like that.
Yeah.
So all that, okay? Once you have this in place, you're going to be able to see it for your online giving. If you say, well, Lori, I'm not using online giving, okay, so don't turn that feature on, but you still want your categories in place. That is important, okay? The next thing would be to set up online giving. This is so important. And you say, well, I have an older congregation. I don't care. Older congregations still like to give. They want to be able to give their tithes. And what better way to give my tithes than to not have to think about them,
Yes,
right?
and we're going to talk all about online giving in a little bit because there's a lot of good stuff going on there.
So you definitely want to get this feature in place. And then you want to set up your pledges. Again, if you don't have your categories in place, you can't set up your pledge campaign because you're going to need a unique category for that campaign.
Yeah.
Not used anywhere else, okay?
And we have a whole video that shows step by step how to create all your pledges and everything.
Right.
So definitely check that out, or check out our online user guide.
I love how you plug our videos, Wes. They're so good, though. They're actually very intuitive and very well thought out. And in most cases, an instruction guide is useless. But in ChurchTrac's case, it really is a great tool because we were very thoughtful in the way that we created it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Now, there's one big thing still that we have to do before we even add our contributions, Lori. What is it?
You have to add your people.
Yes.
Okay, now this actually is really important because you can enter them one at a time. If you have a smaller congregation, less than 250, you may choose to enter them one at a time or build your database as you go. But if you're coming to ChurchTrac and you say, you know, I'm coming from another program, or I have a lot of names that we've been tracking on an Excel spreadsheet, you know what? You just need to send it in and we'll get those names imported for you.
Yes, and the easiest way by far is just to have our team actually log into your old church software and extract that data out for you.
Online software.
Yeah, online software. But if you do have an Excel sheet, you can send that to us as well, and we will get all that taken care of for you at no cost.
Painless.
Yes.
There is a one-time free import. After that, we would ask, so we want everything in one big compiled spreadsheet. But we even give you a template for that, so it makes it easy.
Yes, it
easy
does.
peasy.
Okay, so those are all the things we need to do before we enter our contributions. Now, Lori, we can start talking about entering the contributions.
Okay.
So there are multiple ways we can enter contributions in ChurchTrac, and the first one, really probably one of the most common ones, is just entering it in manually. So we can do this by simply just going to the giving screen, right?
Okay, you're in the giving screen. The very first thing you want to do is add a giving date. It says a batch giving date. That means you're entering a whole bunch at one time. You're batching it all together, okay? Pick a date. I don't care what date, whatever date you need to start with. If you want to start from January of 2021, start there. If you want to start with yesterday, okay, start yesterday, okay? Add your selected date. The program highlights it for you, okay? You go right up here to this blue Enter Contributions button. If your color scheme is different, it's in green or it's in violet or it's still going to be there.
Yeah, it's still
just
there.
going to be a different color, okay?
It's in we have violet available?
For me.
Well, look at that.
That was actually created for me. This purple's my favorite color. So when you go to enter contributions, you literally just go in here, you select the option, and then you start typing. Provided your names are in place and you know what people have given, if they're given checks or you're using envelopes. If you're using envelopes, you can use numbers, but we're going to pick on Jamie today. So I can go in and just type 3 characters and it will pull up a name.
Okay.
It's a beautiful thing. Select the name. You can tab through these fields. I can go in here and say that Jamie gave $125 to general offerings. It is tax deductible. Very important.
Yes.
Okay? We're going to hit on this several times, so just keep making mental notes on this.
We probably will, yes.
Okay? Then you can say, okay, well, Jamie's also giving $25 to the children's ministry. So I hit my drop down here, and I can just start typing, and the category pops in for me.
There it is.
Once I'm done, I say add this contribution, and look, it generates and goes right next to the next line for me to add the next person.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Okay. Once I'm done creating my batch, then I simply go down here and close. And you say, well, Lori, you said add cash or check or credit card or whatever. Notice here, if Jamie gave a check and you're keeping track of check numbers, you can enter that check number here. If she gave cash, your selection box goes away, you just enter the amount. If she gave by credit card, that option is there. This will populate, as you can see right here, for you. We do not have a report that runs how people gave. This is going to generate and be used in your generate batch report down here in the bottom.
Okay.
Did you know that, Wes?
I did know that.
I know. I taught him well.
Now, speaking of, because I heard you mention cash, so let's talk about cash contributions, because there are a lot of situations in which, someone gives to your donation box at church, or you're passing the plates, and you have no idea where that cash came from. So how do we track that in ChurchTrac? And could you zoom in on your screen a little, Lori, just because I don't have glasses yet like you, and I definitely need them.
Whoops. No, that was not the way that, let's do
Command
it my way.
and then plus.
Okay, well, I don't do this.
There you go.
Oh, is that too big?
I think that's perfect.
Okay, I do have glasses, and that's way too big for me.
My eyes, they're getting there.
You'll see me tilting my head up and down. It's because I'm short and I can't see through my bifocal.
So cash contributions, Lori, how in the world do we do that?
You have to add a person, okay? And you can name this person anything you want to. That can be offering plate, cash donations, Dropbox, whatever fits your church's needs, okay? But you're gonna go to the people screen, you're gonna add the person's name, and this I'm gonna do, okay? This can be an organization or an individual, it doesn't really matter. I like to name it a person because I'm gonna have it in my people screen.
That's how I did with mine as well.
Just save them. They don't have to be a member, they just need to be active. Now, when you are counting as a financial team, you're counting those contributions, wherever they came from. If they're cash and they're not assigned to a person, okay, they're just dumped in a bucket.
Okay.
Then you can go in and in the giving screen.
The same exact process we just did a minute ago.
And just look up my person. I can type. There's my person, offering plate.
Mr. Offering Plate.
Okay. This is how you do it, and this is how you keep track of it. Yes, there is a person against your named here, but don't do one for every, Sunday school, for missions, just one
Yes,
dump.
that's a good point to make there.
Assign your categories. I'm pointing to the screen like you all can see my finger. Assign your categories because that's how you're going to designate the monies to wherever they're going. Just use one person, lots of categories.
Yes. I did come across one church one time that had like 20 different people for how they kept track of their giving.
It's very strange when you go in because you're like, okay, but you are taking up people screen time, so you don't necessarily really want to do it that way. So use your categories. That's what they're there for. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so Lori, we talk about cash donations, but I'm the kind of person, I like to work smart, not hard. And what if I just want to just import donations and not have to sit there and do all this manual business that we're showing?
So there are a couple of ways you can do this, Wes.
Okay.
He grins because he knows I get really excited about this stuff. So he's watching me throttle back over here. So there are a few ways that you can do this. If you're using outside online giving resources and you can get an export of that data, you can do a batch import into ChurchTrac. And you're like, well, Lori, how does that work? Okay, so let me show you. You go down here to the import button.
And you may have to zoom in. Just
really?
for my eyes. I know. It's just I can't. No. You can just zoom, pinch to zoom.
Dude, you're killing me here. We're just going to point right there. Okay? I'm old. Stop. When you go in here, it's important that you pay attention to these boxes, okay? I got to make this a little smaller, Wes. It's messing with my head.
That's okay.
This is going to be a CSV import. We have options in here. There's an auto detect, but do read these selections. Mm-hmm. I can't stand it when people just go in and they just do it and then they get mad that it didn't work right. Well, of course it didn't work right. You didn't read the instructions.
Tell us how you really feel.
I know, sorry. So if you are importing from another giving resource, whether it's PayPal or Tidely or whatever, make sure that your categories are in place and they match in ChurchTrac. But if they don't, you have a new category creation option.
Perfect.
The big deal here is add new names to your database. Well, what if you've got people that are giving online in these other resources and they're not in your database? Well, if you check this box, they're going to come in.
Okay.
Okay? So when you go in here, you can do Givelify, PayPal, PushPay, Subsplash, and Tidely. You say, well, Lori, what if I just want a manual? You can do that too. We have a format for that. It's a beautiful thing. I do it as auto detect. You click in this little box with your little dotted lines around it, and there's my CSV, okay? It has to be in a CSV, small CSV at this point. Open it. Boom, they all popped in.
And there's a bunch of them that just appeared.
Right, so I have 36 rows of information that just came in, and you're like, well, it didn't come in on that date. No, because I had multiple giving dates in this option right here. So Jamie, we're picking on her today, but we have lots of imports that came in.
Yes.
That goes ahead and puts this information in the giving screen. Most important thing you can do now is go in and create your deposits. But we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Perfect. All right, Lori, so we talk about importing, but there's another kind of donation we get that's kind of a gray area for a lot of churches, and it's in-kind donation. So first of all, what is an in-kind donation?
An in-kind donation is something tangible. It's not cash. It's not a check. It's not, a gift card. It is a piano or a golf cart or a guitar.
Okay.
Well, I pick on your guitars.
Man, I would love a free guitar if someone
Right?
gives me one in kind.
So, it can be a podium that somebody gifts to the church or whatever.
Yes.
Computers. It doesn't matter. But an in-kind donation is a tangible item. You can't enter that in the giving screen. Per the IRS, an in-kind donation is entered as a $0 donation. I have lost my mouse, Wes, sorry. So I would go in here, I would enter my contributions. I would say, I'm picking on Jamie again. How do you spell her name? Okay. The amount is $0. It's very important for you to remember this. The amount of, or the value of the donation is based on the contributor, not on the church.
And so
okay?
as a contributor, let's say I'm Jamie for a second. My name just changed, Jamie. Anyways, I give this piano to the church. I would claim the value of it,
That's
not the
correct.
church.
The church does not claim the value. So in the memo, I would just put piano, okay? That's all you would put in there. Jamie determines the value when she files her income taxes. So on Jamie's contribution statement, this is how it's going to show up. Whoops, I didn't save it. That was my bad. But anyway, that's how it's going to show up. You do not, I don't care if you have a receipt and the receipt says $126.49. It's irrelevant. You can put the amount in the memo, but that does not change the fact that the giver is the one that determines the value. It's kind of a widows and mites kind of thing, if that makes any sense. Okay?
All right, perfect. All right, so in-kind donations, we've talked about cash donations, manual donations, importing donations. That's pretty much all the ways we can add donations here at this point, isn't it?
Well, online giving.
Yes, that's online giving. So that brings us to our next point, which we're just going to bring it out there, online giving.
Online giving.
So if you're using ChurchTrac online giving, we have a few things to show you here. So Lori, let's talk about it.
Okay. So in ChurchTrac online giving, this account is already set up for potential church, okay? When you initially go to this screen, there will be a link to sign up for Stripe. You're going to need some information, and that information is provided to you on the screen of what you're going to need. When you go to Stripe, you're going to sign up with Stripe. Stripe is a merchant processor that works outside of ChurchTrac. We don't have any of the information that's going into Stripe. That is all secure and safe with Stripe, okay? When you fill out that information, they're going to have your EIN number, they're going to have your bank account information and all this, because when you're finished with that process, okay, and you close that out, you're going to come back and you're going to see that we have provided a link for your contributors.
Yes.
Okay? This link can be posted to a web page.
Yeah, you can attach it to a button.
Yeah, button. Hopefully you're using Church Connect and you're throwing it out there that way.
Yes.
That way your church and anybody that visits your page is going to also be able to give. There are settings in here that you want to make sure that you set up before you publish the QR code or the link, okay? Go in and set up, read through your selections. It is important for you to understand what you're doing and why you're setting things up, and these directions are going to provide that for you, okay? There is a plaid option in there, and that is for verification of your ACH, which is your electronic checks or your regular checks, okay?
Now we have a screenshot here we want to show everybody. This was something that we had to actually pull ahead of time.
Right.
And so our team's going to pull the screenshot just to show you what that looks like. So Lori, kind of explain what's going on here in terms of a couple of these settings on the giving screen.
Okay, so when you go in and you set up your online giving, the really cool thing is when your contributors go to the link or scan the QR code and open up the page for giving, they're going to go in and they're going to provide information for either their credit card or their ACH, and there is even a text giving feature that they will set up in the forum that they're going to be in, okay? Once they give, that information that they've given through Stripe automatically comes into ChurchTrac. It's so cool, Wes, because the category that they chose, everything that they did is going to come into ChurchTrac. The fee that was associated with that contribution is also going to come into ChurchTrac. It's going to batch based on the giving date that they gave. It does not matter what date it hits the bank. It's the date that they gave that they get credit for. Okay, that's actually very important for you to know. In ChurchTrac, when somebody gives via online giving, it shows up and says online giving for you. This automatically populates. You do nothing for this. This automatically comes in from Stripe. Now, when you click the Create Deposit button, because you want to see those deposits, you're going to get the second screen that you see on here that says Online Giving Deposits. Okay? Those online giving deposits are, you'll notice there's a bank account that you're going to give to, the online giving fee category. Remember, we set part of this up in our settings. Okay? And then there's a box that says Automatically Create Accounting Screen Deposits. Boom! This is so cool. I love it because if you're using the Plus plan, these deposits are going to be deposited into your bank account based on the Stripe payout, not on what's in the giving screen, not on the giving date or the giver's information or anything like that, but strictly based on the payout in Stripe. So your bank statement and your Stripe payout are going to equal, and those payout details can be found in Stripe on the payout notification. When you click on it, it's actually going to provide the information of the giver and how much they gave. Even the online giving fee comes in as an individual line item so that your bank accounts are balanced. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite features.
Perfect. And so that's kind of how we handle the auto deposits and everything with giving. We actually have some articles too. User guide you can check out to walk you through that process if you are still trying to figure it all out. And online giving, without a doubt, is the best way to enter your contributions. Absolutely. Because you are not having to enter them. Your people are just doing it naturally on their phones or their computers, and that way that just shows up instantly in ChurchTrac, which kind of brings me to, why online giving is great. There's a lot of different reasons, but ultimately the first thing is your donations, they automatically show up in ChurchTrac, so your admin time is cut down tremendously because you're not having to go through and enter them or import them. I see a lot of churches that are using like another online giving provider and they still have to keep importing, and this eliminates that, and they've really enjoyed that step they've been able to eliminate. Donors can also enable recurring donations, which I love it because people can just set it and forget it, and this is ACH donations, so super handy. And our giving fees are some of the lowest in the industry.
Absolutely.
So definitely reach out to us on that if you want to learn more about giving fees and all that, especially ACH. We save churches thousands of dollars every year through ACH, and so we've got another video that shows ACH and why it's so awesome. And that's kind of leads us to a last thing. ChurchTrac has ACH and text giving, which a lot of platforms don't have that. A lot of them just have the standard credit card.
Exactly.
And credit card's great, but it's very expensive when you compare it to ACH, and so we can definitely save you a lot of money that way.
Absolutely.
So, as Lori already kind of explained there, online giving, you can set it up. It only takes like 20 minutes, and you can start accepting your donations today.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yes, I even figured it out, and I'm kind of the person that I kind of get frustrated whenever I'm trying to figure things like that out.
It's the directions that throw you.
Yeah.
Or the lack of reading them.
Yes, that's my case. Sometimes I don't want to read, but that's why it's great that we have a video that shows it too.
Exactly.
So, all right, we've talked about entering contributions and everything, and I think we'd be doing an injustice if we did not talk about generating our contribution statements. So let's talk about generating contribution statements. So after we've entered all of this giving data and we are ready to give our people their giving statements, Lori, how in the world do we do that?
This is simply painful. Painless. You go into the giving screen. First you have to log into ChurchTrac, then you go to giving.
Yes, you do need to log in.
You have to log in. Then you go to reports. You set this beautiful date range, and you're like, oh, I hate messing with the calendar. Well, look here. So we have it where you can just, it starts January 1st and it ends 12/31 because that's the calendar year. That's what you're tracking for contributions, okay? So we make this as easy as possible. The contribution statement is the first report, so it's already pre-selected. You can print a report per individual who gives or per family, okay? Taxes are filed usually per family, so we select the family option by default.
Okay.
You can include contributions. This is a single contribution gift of more than a penny, or you can set your limit, okay? You can include the detail section, and if you guys use a pledge summary or pledge campaign, you can include that as well, okay? It's kind of cool because all these details pull in because contributors want to know, hey, how much money did I get and give, whatever, okay? When you click the button, it generates a report, and you're like, okay, how long does this take? Oh, there it is.
It's already done. Look at that.
So my logo shows up, the church address, a little thank you note from the church, the information about the person or family who gave, their address so you can mail it. Guess what? This is actually put in the right position for mailing, by the way.
And one thing that's kind of funny I noticed, because this is a test account, so you see a lot of different random donations, and I see like a couch. And
yeah, and this was a split offering, so that it was given in two different ways. Oh, she gave 10 new black couch. She's a couch person.
Yeah, she owns a couch store. So,
well, there you go. Okay.
But it's just kind of funny how so you can add all your in-kind donations. They're going to show up here as well, as long as you
notice
have your
they're always zero.
Yeah, they're always zero.
Okay, because the giver Jamie gives a lot, but look here, she's pledged a lot too. So anything that ends in that's going on right now, that's a long-standing pledge campaign, is going to show up. So it's just a beautiful thing. You print these and you're done. It's bada bing, bada boom. Okay, don't you like the way I did that?
Yes.
Now, let me tell you one more thing, Wes.
Okay.
In the people screen, you say, okay, Lori, I have mostly families that want to get a contribution statement, okay? But I do have husband and wife that file differently or whatever. You simply go to the people screen. I'm answering a question right now ahead of time.
Okay.
You click on reports.
You already know the questions that are going to be asked before even seeing them.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you click on the person. So if Jamie wants a report by herself, select Jamie. Okay. She doesn't want to be part of John. She just wants her own because it's Jamie's couch store and John has the different taxes. Okay. They make that much money. The report that you're going to file is the contribution statement. You can print. You're going to love this one, Wes.
Uh-oh.
But if you want to email your contribution statements out, you can choose email. So if they have a family email in place on the people screen, yes, administrators, you do have to add this information, but it's simply selecting it, okay?
Okay.
You can email them. It literally just sends them all out. It's the coolest thing. I love it. Sorry, I digress.
And that's it.
Just choose the individual, make sure your date range is set, and then generate the report. And Jamie's report will set up, and it will not be the family report. It'll be an individual report.
Okay. And just make sure you set up your email in your admin settings in ChurchTrac in order to send your emails. Now, and I'm just going to quickly just call out one thing even better is just telling your people to go onto Church Connect where they can view their giving history at any given moment. They can generate their contribution statement and everything. And you can check out the user guide to learn more about that. Well, we have covered a lot, Lori, and I already see the questions pouring in. And just to remind everybody, we have our Q&A mode enabled, so that means you can ask us questions. I see them all right here in real time. Unfortunately, if you're watching this at a later time, pre-recorded, you won't be able to ask the questions in real time, but you can still reach out to our support team and ask them. So let's go ahead and just have the team show you how to use the Q&A mode. You just ask the question, and if you see a question that someone else has already asked, you should be able to bump it up to the top as well. So Lori, are you ready to start answering some questions here?
Sure.
All right, let's see here. I'm going to pull up the first one from Brenda. And Brenda is asking us, if donor gives 3 checks for 3 different categories, can I enter them all at once, or do I have to enter 3 different lines?
Brenda, you're going to enter the person once, and this is a really good. If you guys can show this for me. When you enter the person, and I'm just going to go to John here, okay? This little plus right here allows you to add different line items to the same person without having to add the person each time. So that little plus sign allows you to enter as many line items as you need. 3, 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter. When you're done, you add the contribution, and then you add the next person. Does that help?
That helps.
Okay.
That answers it. All right, we have another question here from Marlene. Marlene's asking, we have members who give monthly via pre-authorized debit. Is there an easy way to input recurring contributions? No,
there isn't.
There's not.
Unless they're using online giving, that recurring contribution still has to be entered manually. Into the giving screen on the date that they give. Otherwise, you would be able to just use Stripe and let it pre-populate. That's a good option.
Okay. Question from Juanita. Juanita's asking if I'm not using ChurchTrac for accounting, but I am using to track contributions, how does that affect the online giving?
It doesn't. They can still give. It's still going to pre-populate over here, and it'll say online giving in the giving screen. I know I just bounced over, and my team is going, what is wrong with you? It'll still automatically populate in the checking account that you have assigned in Stripe. It just will not do anything in ChurchTrac itself.
Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so we have a question here from Lynn. Lynn's asking, is there a way to add a signature to the contribution statement?
After you print it, you can sign it. That's all I can tell you, sweetie.
All
Sorry.
Right. So, thank you. Question from Brenda. So many questions pour in. Y'all keep bringing the questions because we're prepared to stay as long as it takes to answer them all here. So Brenda, I'll pull up Brenda's question. So, but I can only add 1 check number if I do that. So Brenda was following up with something.
Yes, Brenda was the first question that asked about adding the line items here. So yes, Brenda, if they're giving, in their giving amount, if they've given multiple items, if they've given more than 1 check number, I've never actually tried this, but you could add multiple check numbers in this field. Again, that doesn't report anywhere except actually on their contribution statement. So there's not a report to run for check numbers other than the contribution statement and the batch report. So you could enter multiple check numbers in that field if you wanted to.
All right. So we have a question here about in-kind donations. On an in-kind donation, does the type always show up as check?
No.
No, it does not. So when we were showing that, Lori just accidentally had it marked as check. You can just put other in that situation.
Well, there's a blank too.
Yeah.
So you can use a blank or other. It doesn't matter. Whichever you prefer.
Yeah.
Just so long as you memo what this contribution was, that's actually kind of really important.
Yeah, that way anytime you're looking at it, or the person when they get their contribution statement, they know it was for a couch or a guitar.
Why did I get a $0 contribution? And that's because you did that.
So question here from William. William's asking about importing. So when I manually import a CSV file, how do I include?
That's a very good question,
Lori's
William.
thinking.
So in the import, I don't honestly know. There's 5 lines. I'm going to cheat here and go and look. How about that? Actually, let's go to my help guide. I'm showing y'all how I have to use things.
Sometimes we have to look at our own user guide just to remember things because there's so many features.
There is a lovely template in here that gives you instructions on this for our manual CSV. So
there
category, tax deductible, memos, and a date associated. So I don't have a way to put the type in manual entry.
Okay. Well, that answers the question then. All right. So question here about, okay, so currently we don't have the Plus package. Is it necessary to use the manual?
If you aren't using the accounting screen, you aren't going to have this button that says Create Deposit.
Perfect. All right. Next question here. So this one's from Pamela. Pamela's asking, can you set up a category that will keep track of the online giving fees that's being paid?
Yes, absolutely. You should go to categories. You should create a new category and call it literally
Online giving fees.
online giving, whoops, I can't spell, fees, freeze.
Freeze.
Well, for crying in a bucket. And then this needs to be an expense. Please note, okay, when I change this to expense, this is going to disappear from my giving screen because I have my expense categories hidden. That does not mean it didn't create. It's here. I'm just going to change it to expense. And when I refresh my screen, it will disappear, okay? Use that. If you are doing, if you're importing from another platform or you're using Stripe, you want that in there because when you do keep track of those fees, in accounting, it will not keep track of fees in giving because that's an expense. It'll keep track of fees in accounting. You'll be able to run those reports, okay? The reports themselves in the giving screen do have a fee line, but that is for online giving or imports, not manual imports, but like from other platforms and Stripe.
Okay. Here's a good question from Matt. Matt's asking, why don't my contributions show up on the statement?
Matt, that is a very good question, and it happens all the time. I did it again. So when I have a contribution in place, let's see if I can find one with several so I can, there we go. This deductible option needs to be yes. If some reason you change this to deductible no, or better yet, your category changes or is set to no, these will not show up on your statement because this is an IRS tax statement, Wes.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So if it's set to no, that means it did not fit the qualifying guideline for IRS. If you go through the whole year, yes, I've had customers that this has happened to, and that is set to no even on their general contributions.
It's not going to show.
It's not going to show. So we have to make some changes.
Okay. Well, that makes so much sense. Matt also asked, how do I print an individual statement? Which we kind of touched on that a second ago.
That's in the people screen. You have to do, if you want a singular or just a couple of individual statements, you just check the names off in the people screen, go to reports, contribution statements, and run the individual report. I said that really fast, but you know what? It's
just
on
rewatch
YouTube.
the video. Yeah,
You can rewind
you'll
it.
be able to rewind and see it. So here's a question from Tracy, Lori. Tracy's asking, when you make that deposit, does it get entered as a transaction?
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. It's a new transaction in the accounting screen on the date that the transaction occurred. If it's from Stripe, it's going to be on the date the payout occurred.
All right. Let's see here from William. So I have members that want to know how much that they contribute deductible and non-deductible. So is there a way to show people that, like what they've contributed that's both deductible and non-deductible?
That would actually be a report that you have to run from the people screen, but it will not be on the contribution statement. The statement itself will not show non-tax deductible contributions because people just don't always do the right thing.
Yep. Alrighty. Tina is asking, where can I find today's lesson and watch a later date? Everything. This is a great opportunity to just give a shout out to YouTube. So everything is going to be on YouTube there, so you can check that out. And we even go through the painstakingly made process of
This is so cool.
We have, so all of our YouTube videos, if you've been checking our YouTube videos lately, you'll see that we've actually got all of our main webinars chaptered out and everything. So that way you don't have to listen to all of us just sit here and jibber jab forever to find out the answer to what it is you're looking for. You can actually go through, pick the channel marker.
You're
and quickly
saying I
find.
jibber jabber?
No, I jibber jabber.
Fair enough.
So
I'll
yeah,
let you
check
go
out YouTube. That'll help you out. And so Helen's asking about, can you show how to set a family group? I'm not sure what that means.
Helen, let me ask you for clarity, and you can answer it down lower. Are you asking how to set up, like, mom, dad, and then put the kids in the family as well? Or is there something else you're referencing? So once I get your clarity, I'll answer your question.
Yeah, I think that's probably what Helen's
I'm hoping
referring
that's
to.
what she's referring to.
Yeah, all right, so Susan... So Susan's saying, all right, you find an error once you've entered contributions and ready to do a deposit. How can the correction be done?
Okay, it's really important. You make the adjustment in the giving screen, okay? Giving and accounting do not talk to one another. So it's very important that you understand, once you make that correction in the giving screen, you need to go to accounting, find the deposit, okay? You're going to then delete this deposit and go back to giving and re-enter it. Some people say, well, why can't I just edit the transaction here? Well, honestly, the reason that you don't want to edit it is because we are human and we make mistakes. And then it's harder to find the mistake because you've edited and changed it. So delete it and go back and re-enter, just redeposit it.
All right, question from Nancy in all caps. What is
A batch report. Good question, Nancy. I like it. Okay, so if I go down, if I have a giving date in place and I go down, notice I have checks and cash types. Go down here and create my batch report. A batch report is going to tell me how much money I entered in per checks, per category, how many cash contributions per category, and give me a total. If I have credit cards, it's also going to tell me that. So you can have multiple giving options in a batch report, but this is how much that day brought in for contributions and how it was contributed.
Perfect. All right, and that's, I see a lot of people bring that to the bank with them too if
Absolutely.
they're doing deposits at the bank. Question from Ward. Ward's asking, do you have to make a deposit for online giving, or is it auto-deposited?
Ward, it's not auto-deposited unless you go into that Create Deposit button, open that window, and there's a little box there that says Automatic Deposit. That has to be checked, or it will not automatically deposit.
Yeah, and we have some articles on that too.
Yes,
I
we
think
do.
we have a blog post as well. If you literally just Google search ChurchTrac auto deposit, you'll find that article. I know for a fact, because I had to find it the other day when I was looking at it. Pamela is asking, would you set up a pledge?
Like, can
Yeah,
I?
yeah.
Oh.
Would you say? So
Like,
I don't know.
Would
if
I
if
hear, or
Pamela's-
would you need to?
So we won't show it in this, just because we're more so talking about entering contributions, Pamela. I would set up a pledge personally.
I'm sorry, Pamela. I just.
But no, check
that
out our.
was
I believe we have a video on YouTube that shows how to do pledges,
do.
and we also have it in our user guide.
Yes,
that
we
way you
do.
can watch it on your own time and pause it when you need to as you follow along.
Sorry for the brain dead
At
moment.
first, I was like confused. All right, so let's see here. See, we've got. Okay, so here's a question. So, can we have altar flowers as a budget item and as a category for giving?
So you can have an income category for altar flowers, because many times people will give donations to cover the cost of the altar flowers, or they'll give them as a memorial or what have you. So you can have an income category for that, and then you can have it as a budget item. If, for example, I set up, you do altar flowers every week, but then this week I want to give it as a memorial, that income category is what we would use to pay for that altar flowers that week. So you can have budget of X amount of dollars and then additional income that helps to cover special things like that.
Okay. Here we go. This one's from Lynn. Lynn's asking, for individual statements, can't you also go into the people screen and go to the giving tab and print which we kind of already covered that.
That's actually where you would find the donations that are non-tax deductible as well. If you want the contribution statement, you definitely need to go to the contribution statement report. Non-tax deductible items should not be on your tax report.
All right, now Sherry has a follow-up question about altar flowers. So, are altar flowers deductible?
If they stay at the church, they can be claimed as a tax-deductible item. If they go home with you, no.
Okay. I didn't know that, so.
Well, I mean, if I'm giving it on behalf of someone else, that's one thing. But if I'm purchasing them for myself to take with me, then I've received something for my donation.
All right, perfect.
If in doubt, you can always check with your accountant.
Pamela, you can just rewatch the video later. I see you're asking about the altar flowers again. Yeah, just rewatch. This brings me to a good point. Just to remind everyone, just to reach out to us if you do want to watch any certain videos or you're having a hard time finding a previous webinar. Just create a support ticket. Let us know and say, hey, I'm trying to find the video on this or that. But we do post all these webinars on YouTube and everything pretty fast. And so you can check out all this. If there is something that you missed in this time and you want to rewatch it, just check that out. So got a question here. Man, so many great questions. And I mean, we're prepared to stay as long as it takes to keep answering them, I guess, right?
It's getting a little warm in here.
Plus, you get hungry, too. You're probably going to get to that point where you're like, get out. All right, so let's take this question here from Helen. So Helen is asking, all right, some people give as check/cash as husband and wife, but in the giving report, there is no space to enter both.
That is correct. That's why the family statement is so important, because if for example, my husband and I mean, we share an account, so if I give, it still credits to my husband, and if he gives, it still credits to me. We file taxes together. The family contribution statement matters. The most important time that I can tell you that you want to specify who gave what is for a pledge. If Wes pledges, okay, but the contribution goes in under my name, but we're in the same family, it's still not going to credit back against him because you put it in my name. So the pledge campaign has to be specific to the individual who pledged. Any other time, as long as we're on a family statement, it won't matter.
All right, perfect. So United Methodist Church RP didn't start Giving Stream till March. Need to enter January, February, but already reconciled. Can we enter contributions by name?
Certainly. So the beauty of the giving screen and the plus plan together, the accounting screen, is they do not talk to one another unless you click that generate deposit button. If you click that button, that's when it will go. Okay, this button right here. That's when it will go into the accounting screen. But if you need to enter January and February, maybe up to mid-March or whatever, contributions, you can enter them weekly. You can enter them in one fell swoop per name, and just don't deposit them because your accounting is already reconciled. Don't screw that up.
Yes, and this is actually something I come across a lot with our one-on-one workshops, which I encourage you, register for a workshop one-on-one if we send out the links via email, so you'll see them occasionally.
That's a West thing.
Yeah. But we see that a lot where churches, they start using accounting and they enter, their starting balance and accounting screen and everything. And the last thing you want is having all these giving records mess up all of your numbers and then nothing aligns. And when you try to reconcile, you're just like, oh my gosh,
what a mess.
Yeah. So thankfully, you can make it to where you only create a deposit when you need to. So
that's right.
All right. Let's see here. We have so many random things I'm sifting through. Lori tweeze out some other questions here. So here's one from Pamela.
I'm blind as a bat, so you guys have to bear with me over here.
But what if each spouse wants an individual statements? How will that affect the statement?
In that case, Pamela, you do have to enter per the person who gave. If both people are on the check, not you, they have to pick who gets credit for that contribution. If they want individual statements, then they have to give separately because it's not going to be accurate based on a family statement. I'm not going to be able to have both individual and family that way.
Perfect.
If you cut my hands off, I couldn't talk. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, Lori's always talking with her hands.
I am.
Yeah, that reminds me of the worship song. Was it the waves of mercy? Oh, man, I can't tell you how many times I think I led that song at youth camps.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness. Well, those are pretty much all the questions here. Henrietta, this is so funny. Henrietta says, you guys are a hoot. Well, thank you, Henrietta. We appreciate it. And we're just so glad that we get to hang out with all of our churches here and
Absolutely.
just talk through all this. And what's so cool is we learn so much from all of you all. Every time we do these webinars and our workshops and when we're on the phone talking to everybody, and it's just a blast.
You guys are our examples of how we should do things or how we should write our guides or provide information. So don't ever think that there's a dumb question or anything like that, because the questions that don't get asked still need to be addressed. So help us help you.
Yes, and you know, after this webinar today, if there's some things that you just all of a sudden thought of and you want to get answered, just reach out to us. We'll help you out in a jiffy. Just create a support ticket. And as always, Lori, where can people watch all of our previous webinars?
YouTube, ChurchTrac YouTube. It's the best. And I will tell you, it's even, okay, I'm going to nerd out for just a second, guys. I'm not a YouTube junkie, but when you go to YouTube and you type in ChurchTrac and you pull up the ChurchTrac, there's so many videos and so many webinars, so much information. It's like, oh my God. So there's a little search feature in the right-hand corner. It's really hard to find, but it's in the right-hand corner of your YouTube screen, and you can type in Church Connect or giving or whatever, and it just pulls up the videos that are related to that topic. It's so cool.
Yes. And make sure you subscribe, too, because when we release these new webinars and everything, you'll get notified. You'll get that email saying, hey, we just launched another one. So definitely check that out. Well, this has been fun. I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today as we've been diving into entering contributions and everything else that has to do with it.
Oh, wait. I got to plug something.
Yes.
Remember, these need to be out by January 31st.
Yes, that's so important.
So you don't have until whenever to get your contribution statements out. You have till January 31st. So as soon as that last contribution is given on 12/31 at 11:59, you need to start preparing. If you're already doing this, it's easy peasy. If you haven't done it since January of last year, you got a lot of work to do.
Yes, you do. But just know that when you do need help, just reach
We're
out.
here.
All righty. Well, everybody, have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. See ya.